I don't have anything
There
funny
you
to
go.
say.
You don't have anything funny to say?
I,
So,
don't-
uh, it,
I've won humorous speech contests before, and they are the hardest thing because I use humor in my speeches, but that's different from somebody going, "Okay, be funny."
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, everybody, we just went live. I just want to thank. We have a substitute tonight, and it's Mr. Donn King. Yay, jazz
Happy to be
hands.
here. And for people who get it, no, I don't know Mike Tyson. Yeah, my hair looks different. Let's just kind of put that
Oh,
in the chat.
the yeah. You know, I've seen the actual Donn King.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I ran into him in Penn Station. I
Okay.
don't
And
ask.
you
I don't
can't
know
miss
why.
him. I'm, because, yeah.
Yeah, the hair thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff is supporting John David Mann in a project that he's doing, which he needs to do. So Don was nice enough to pitch hit. Am I saying that right? Pitch hit,
Pinch,
pit,
pinch hit.
pinch. It's
Yes.
pinch,
And you have
pinch
to be
hit.
careful how you say that because it can,
It means
you can
something
get your
else.
tongue tangled up and
Oh, okay. I thought it was pitch hit. It's pinch hit.
pinch hit.
Okay.
Yes.
Peg says hi, and Teresa Staples is on. Yay,
Hello.
everybody. And the next two say Facebook user on our end, so make sure it is pinch. Oh, Peg knows.
In a pinch. Yes.
Yeah. When the first time you say hi, if it doesn't show your name, put your name in the comment, if you will, so we can see. Joyce is on. Hey, Joyce.
Yeah.
Peg and I are going only a couple weeks from now for my birthday to Denver together.
Ooh, happy birthday.
Yeah, we've. Oh, thank you. I'm going backwards now. I'm not. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to wear these when I'm out there. I got two pairs. You tell me which ones. These were a gift from my son. They're blue
Okay.
diamonds. See
Yeah.
the hair? Yeah. Okay. Blue diamonds. And then I got these for myself. These are blue stars.
Okay. So, what
Stars.
comes, those of us of a certain age, the girl with diamonds in her eyes.
Oh, yeah, diamonds. So everybody put in the comments which you prefer. These are stars and these are diamonds. I like them both, actually. I'm probably going to go back and forth. These are a little easier to see through. Someone said, love the diamonds.
Well, that
Hey,
makes a
Maureen,
difference
how
if
are
you're
you?
driving.
Oh, I can't drive with them because I have a prescription. No, and I sadly I was denying the whole I need glasses things for years. And then you know what happened?
What did you run
Uh,
into?
North and South have the same number of letters. Bet you didn't know that. Yeah, I was going
Yeah.
home from Massachusetts, and instead of going to New Hampshire, I went to Cape Cod because North and South have the same number of letters. And yeah, I was bluffing. So, oh, there's
Oh,
Brooke Sanitas. Brooke just had open heart surgery again.
ooh,
Brooke.
my
And
goodness.
matter of fact, I don't know why she thought this was funny, but when she FaceTimed me last night, I thanked her for not dying. I said, thank you for not dying. I appreciate that.
And she thought
And
that was funny.
she thought that was funny. I meant
You
it.
gotta laugh. I
I
mean,
meant it. I didn't want her to die. I
well,
thought,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
I
when you're facing real challenges, you gotta dark humor is a thing. Gallows humor,
well, I mean, what else do you say to someone who just went through a big ordeal?
Yeah.
So I said, thank you for not dying. I thought it was appropriate, but yeah, I evidently have no idea what actual appropriateness
Well,
is.
I think, well, in the first place, that's probably true, Lisa. But besides that, I think probably the laugh would come because you're being honest and heartful. The average person probably would not think to say something like that. Yeah, they'd be more likely to say, "Oh, I'm glad that you're doing okay."
Oh,
You
someone
know,
said for you that is appropriate. Yeah, that's that's the size of it too. Yeah,
yeah.
we were talking before we went on. I did the radio show today, and just a short recap on how this went. Scott says, "Where's Jeff West chasing the squirrel?" Jeff's actually supporting John David Mann in I think he's doing an interview So he's being supportive. So that's why Don's on in his place tonight. But yeah, he's probably out there chasing Conway around too, the squirrel.
Or Conway's chasing him.
Or Conway chasing him, yeah. So anyway, the how the whole radio show thing happened was, and this is the one that happened this time, is that, and I'll tell you, as somebody who likes to do marketing, when any little thing I do, anything gets a little bit of traction, I'm thinking, how am I parlaying this into something? How am I making this into something? So I'm coming back with Yonkers, and yeah, that's his nickname, Yonkers and his son for Christmas up to here. And I get a text on my phone, and it's a radio station DJ. And he said, I was behind you on the Merritt Parkway, which is the big highway. And he said, I was wondering if you'd call into the radio show. It's between 11 and 3. And I thought for a minute, and I thought, I want to prepare for this. I don't want to just random call right now. So I said, well, I can't do it at the moment, but let me message you and we'll set a date and I'll call in. And that date was today. And I wanted a chance to send him my media kit and stuff, because I have magazines and stuff that I've been in that I bought extra copies. And one of them happens to be the cover of a car magazine. And I knew he'd get a kick out of it anyway, the guy. So what I didn't know for a couple days was that on the radio station's Facebook page, that guy had taken a picture of the back of my van. So when I went to research the radio station and the people and the DJs and stuff, I found that post. He hadn't tagged me or anything. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, how can I use this to my advantage? So I took a screenshot of their post saying, and it said something like, if you were listening to Pam and Brian and you heard them talk about the Avon lady they saw on the highway, this was the picture. And it showed the back with my wiper, because I have a big giant pair of lips, and on the wiper blade is a lipstick. And they got a kick out of that. But what's also in that picture is my URL. Why Jeff's missing. John is teaching on the benefits of his writing workshop, and Jeff is living proof on how great the workshop is. Thank you. That's a great way to put it. There you go. So I took a screenshot of their post in the radio station's page, and I posted it. And then Facebook come up and said, do you want to make a reel out of this? And I'm like, wait a minute, that'd be awesome. Let's do that. So I made a reel, and it's actually my best performing reel ever, with 6,000 views. And why I'm so excited about it is because my URL is on the back of my van. So then the show was today, and I was on, and they had me stay on for about 20 minutes, which is really great for a call-in person. Usually you have to book or pay or whatever to get that much time. And it worked out great. And they're going to let me have the recording too, so I can parlay that into more. So I went into today's radio call-in with the objective of being engaging, funny, and thinking I need to make sure I talk in short soundbite stories instead of stretching it out, because I know that's how radio works. So I think I did all right. Jeff kept texting me, you're hilarious. He was doing all this stuff. And Peg says such great marketing. Yeah, I thought that worked out great. Now I want to back up. I know I'm not giving you much time to talk yet, but sorry.
This is what I expected, Lisa.
We talking too much. Yeah, that's about the size of it, right? So this happened kind of before with a radio thing, where it was, I think, mid-1990s. I was the first one to make the top of the pay plan in Avon in the Northeast. So they got a request from a radio station. The employee went with me. I hadn't done radio before, so I did an interview with the employee, and we did that. And then after that, one of the other DJs, or I don't know, what do you want to call them, hosts, contacted me and said, will you be on my show next? And that was in a different city. I said, sure. And I started doing them on my own. And then that lady was Joanne Randall. She had me on her show a couple times. And then when she went away to do something, she called and said, would you substitute for me?
Ah,
So I did her show for a couple times, and then the radio station said, "We have an opening. Would you do a show?" So I had a radio show for like 6 months. So I knew somewhat that you have to be engaging and funny and you make it quick or they want to move on, especially when it's people like a talk show like that.
right.
So that was the point of today. I was trying to they didn't receive my media kit though. But the next time
Yeah.
they'll get it next time. But they wanted me to drop in now. They said, "Oh, you ought to come here in the studio. It'd be so much fun." And I'm like, "Absolutely, yes." So that's what I'm going to set up next. I want to set it up ahead so that I'm not doing stuff without a little prep, you know, because you don't get
Well, yeah.
many shots at this kind of stuff. I want to, you know what I mean?
Well, and this is, some people would look at that and say, "Oh, that's a lucky break" or whatever. But this is when preparation meets. Well, I forget the second half of that, but you had all that on your van. You could never anticipate, I'm going to put this on the back of the van so that I can get on a radio show. You just never
Well,
know
and
when.
it could be a lot of stuff that would happen over it,
Mhm.
but any little you just got to keep your ears and eyes open because when he said, "Would you call in?" I could have just called in without thinking about it too much, been on there for 5 minutes or so while he talked about it, and then that would have been the end of the opportunity. So I'm trying to capitalize on whatever comes my way,
Yeah.
just to make sure that I capitalize on whatever comes my way.
Well, and part of it would be to make yourself memorable as a result of that. And I'm betting that you did. I mean, what was the conversation about?
Well, they asked a bunch of stuff. Of course, the first, yeah,
I know where you're going with
right.
this.
Yeah. Once they got that information, he ran away with that. The DJ guy, but he was saying, "How can we forget her, Scott? Thank you. That's awesome." I
But
think
these are
that
people who have heard her for the first time. This is
right,
the one shot. And while you're wanting in the long run to connect with people who will benefit from your business, they're unlikely to do that on one exposure.
right.
But because of the conversation you had, they're going to remember you. And then if they remember you, then there's the opportunity to serve them in an ongoing way. So what was the conversation about, Lisa?
Well, of course, the question came up that I live in New Hampshire because my URL is NH Lipstick Lady, that I live in New Hampshire, and that where he said, "How often do you come by on this highway here?" And it's the Merritt Parkway in Connecticut. And I said, "Well, since August, it's about once a week. I'm going down there and back." And they say, "Oh, what? Do you have some business down there?" And I said, "Well, actually, last year I discovered the Man Buffet, and I was sampling the dishes and ran across a favorite dish. And I said, he happens to live in Yonkers, so Mr. Yonkers is what I was down there for." So once the guy interviewer, the host, heard that, though, he just
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
let that go. He
off and running, off and
Oh,
running.
he was off and running. I was able to get in some other stuff like my history with Avon a little bit, and he talked about Avon products a little bit and what we still had. He used Wild Country soap on a rope when he was younger, so we talked about that.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then he said, "What else would you like us to know about you?" or something along those lines. And I didn't know he hadn't got the media pack. So I said to him, "You haven't even mentioned the thing that everybody's been talking about lately." And he said, "What?" I said, "I've got blue hair." And he said, "Oh." And then that gave me an opportunity to tell the story about the Go Giver Success Alliance and how we came up with the book and everything. So I was able to talk about the book. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I like to do about the hair too, because people may or may not remember my name. But if you have those two bits of information, because there aren't many Avon representatives that have a fully wrapped van like I do, but
Mhm.
there's even few that also have blue hair. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this part. Last year when I went to Denver for this conference that I'm going again for my birthday, I actually got there probably 11 at night. I'm walking through the airport. I didn't have on any ID or any, I mean, no badge or anything like that. And a
Mhm.
lady come up to me and she said, "Oh my God, aren't you the Avon lady with the blue hair?" And I said, "Yes, I am." I felt like I was famous there for a minute. Like, I was like, "Yes, I am." And she
Oh,
dragged her
absolutely.
husband over. We had pictures. I know. But I think it's just another way to distinguish me, like you said, memorable.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and
And,
the things
yeah,
I accomplished.
there's not that many with a wrap, like you said, Avon ladies with blue hair, and I bet there's even fewer Avon ladies with a wrap and blue hair and a man buffet.
Well, now you know that you're not gonna let it go either, right?
I Well, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like chasing a squirrel or something, you know? You can't let go of
Right.
it. But all kidding aside, I mean, it makes you memorable. The experience you had in Denver, testifies to that. And it's not being weird for the sake of being weird, but there's so many things. Let's face it, Avon in a lot of ways is a commodity,
Oh, right, right.
you know.
And you
And,
wanna
and,
make
and
it exciting and fun. Yeah.
yeah, and there's so many things that are commodities. Even in a corporate setting, people don't do business with corporations; they do business with people. It's not at all unusual. Well, talking about radio, I have a background in radio. Jeff used to work in radio, and it's not at all uncommon for people. They follow a given DJ. I mean, I live close to Knoxville in East Tennessee, so ours is a fairly large market, but in a lot of ways, it's kind of a small town. And one particular DJ, Ashley Adams, she's been around in this market for over 30 years.
Wow.
Now, she has moved from station, not multiple times, but she's been at least three different stations. And I will guarantee you, people follow her.
Oh,
They've got more
yeah.
loyalty to her than they do to a given station.
And see, that's awesome because that means she can get more because she has a brand.
Yeah.
She has a brand. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and,
So,
just to let you know, my friend Janet Leonard from Ireland's on. Hey,
oh,
Janet.
hello, Janet.
Yeah,
Nice to
she
meet
said
you.
we met each other, I think she said 10 years ago today. Is that right, Janet? 10 years ago? It seemed like longer than that. We've known each other. Yeah, I got to go, that was one of those things too. I try my best when something happens to parlay it into something else. And, 15 years ago, that's why it seems longer than that. 15,
Uh,
Janet said.
because it was
Um,
long. Okay.
I got asked to go over to England to speak at a conference, and, at the time, it was the biggest thing that ever happened to me in my life, I swear to you. I was living in
Mm,
the trailer park in the single wide, and I was making six figures, but we hadn't moved out yet. None of my
mm.
life had not changed yet, except when you go on a company trip or something where you live a whole different life. You
Yeah.
stay at fancy hotels and stuff, and then you come back home, push start the you go. But, so they asked me to go over to England to speak at this thing. We had email then, and they sent me the receipt for the plane ticket. And when I looked, it was $8,000. They sent me
Yeah.
first class. And I thought, oh, wow, they don't know it's just me. And so, like the whole first trip, I'm thinking to myself, when they find out it's just me, they're going to want me to reimburse them for this. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, wow.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then of course I got there and I had a room with two bathrooms at the hotel. Yeah, that I still for years I kept they gave me a bottle of champagne and when I popped the cork I took out a light in the bathroom. I kept that cork for years. But anyway, of
Uh,
course it wasn't a mistake. They asked me back. I did England twice. And then from there, the lady that was running Ireland was in the audience the second time I spoke and asked me to go over to Ireland and speak, and that's where I met Janet. So it was fun
Okay.
all the way around those 3 trips, and I mainly got picked because I was willing to do it.
Well,
And
the first time, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was
But that, that's
oh, the
one of the
second time,
tests.
yeah, that's a good
That's
point.
one of the tests for professional speakers. I mean, you get a standing ovation, great, but the real test is, do they hire you again? And you obviously delivered what was needed there, because you gotta ask back. You gotta ask to other places.
I don't know what you would have done, but it was funny. The second time I went, um, I was not full of myself, but it was tough because they treated me that well the second time too. And by then I'm like, they know what they're getting. I was here before, you know what I mean? Right. So, but I had this focus of, I want to make sure they're paying an awful lot of money to bring me over here. And I'm only speaking for, I think it was 30 minutes I got on
Mhm.
this thing. I had to do some other stuff like meet and greets and stuff, but still, I felt like I needed to get that 30 minutes to be pretty valuable.
Yeah.
And then they come up to me at the last minute and said, the corporate person ahead of me ran over a little. Would I mind cutting mine down to 20 minutes or so? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't mind, but geez, you're paying all that money to have me come over, and now you're only getting 20 minutes.
Mm.
But it just seems so funny. And after, when I got home, I thought to myself, I should have volunteered to just stand up and wave if they wanted, because it's not they. But I just wanted to make sure they got their money's worth, is what I was trying to do, I guess.
And what you're talking about is value, of course, and the
Right.
value doesn't come from the time. You
Well, now
know,
that's true. That's true.
yeah. That there's, I mean, when you think about just the information that you share, even if what you're talking about is here's what I have learned in doing this business, it would be cheaper and easier for them to get that in an electronic newsletter,
Oh, right.
or recording, and yet they're willing to pay not just a speaker's fee. If that was what was happening, there's the travel and all that kind of thing. But chances are, even with that $8,000 ticket, you were one of the lower ticket items in their expenses.
Oh, probably. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Probably
Yeah.
the food to feed those people
Oh,
for one
right, with
meal
the
was
yeah,
more.
that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Certainly the expenses they paid for the people who were traveling there and being there. And I realize for Avon, they're not hourly employees, but like if you go and speak to a corporate audience, the combined hourly, I won't say
No,
wage,
right.
but impact
Values, yeah, is
of
a
the
lot,
people
right.
sitting there and
That's true.
listening, as opposed to whatever they would otherwise be doing, is a greater expense than what they're paying the speaker. And yet they still find it valuable to bring a live speaker in front of that audience.
Yeah.
They don't do that unless they think they get more out of it than what it costs them.
Well, I made sure, because we all, our mindset go-givers, because we're both in the Go-Giver Success
Mhm.
Alliance, is value. So they had me do other events where I was going, and I made sure to make the rounds in the room and stuff like that to make sure I talked with everybody and everybody got pictures or whatever they wanted. So, because I wanted to make sure that the people that brought me over there felt that it was a good decision,
Mhm, mhm.
you know.
And in your material, where I'm betting you probably didn't spend a whole lot of time on how-to stuff. It was more about your story. Is
No,
that an
well, I weave the story in. What I was doing then is almost what I do now, is it's marketing ideas. My
Mhm.
book, my first book was called Marketing Ideas for the Wild at Heart. And it's examples of the stories. And I did PowerPoints, but I only had pictures on them. And they
Which
were
is wise, by the
pictures.
way. That's good.
It was pictures of my actual thing that I used. So I had like the history of the car, because I didn't start out with a car wrap. I started
Mhm,
with little posters in the window. So I showed the progression.
mhm.
Oh, Janet said it was the best decision ever to bring you over. Thank you. And
Yeah.
in Janet's case, actually, Ireland, they had us do, Janet was with me. I think that's why they included her at first, was we were on I don't even know what you call it, a media tour. We had a pack of media with us. And when I was in Ireland, they were promoting the fact that one of their Janet will have to correct me, but I think it was Constable, she can write in the comments what it was, but he's like a state rep here in the U.S.
Okay.
So the state rep for their county, and he is a descendant of the guy that founded the company for Avon, David McConnell. So
Wow.
actually, I think it was David McConnell's wife that he's a descendant of. But we went to where David McConnell had visited a hotel, and we went to where they used to own a home, and we went to these places with the media. Yeah, Seymour Crawford. Janet, was it a constable or what was his title? Do you remember? But it was Seymour Crawford. And when I got home later, they sent me all the newspaper clippings that came out from that. And even when I was there, they had done a story prior to me getting there. And it had my picture and it said Avon executive comes to celebrate the thing. And I thought, ooh, TD. He's a TD, Seymour Crawford. The TD is what the title was. So, but
Now we could have all kinds of speculation about what TD stands for, but
right. Does it stand for something? Right. But that was thrilling for I can't speak on Jan's behalf, but I think she'll agree that was a big thing for us. We were like going around. The only thing is Seymour Crawford, TD Seymour Crawford, drives like a maniac. We were in the back of his car, and I'm like, "We're gonna die! We're gonna die!"
But what a place to go!
It was funny. He was an older gentleman. Do you remember the car ride, Janet? I'm sure she does because that was hilarious.
She says it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was raining that day, but it was just fun because I don't know, I hadn't done anything like that, and it was, it was a thrill for them to make of me like that. It was fun. But
well, and it gets back, as you know, one of my mantras is connection before content. It's not that the content doesn't matter; it's that without the connection, the content won't matter. And when you were there in person, and I would consider the information you were just talking about, what you shared, it is telling your story.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah.
And so that means the people sitting out there in the audience, this sounds like a backhanded compliment, and I don't mean it that way. When people can sit out there in the audience and say, if she can do it, I can do it. That is gold as far as the speaker's concerned. Who is it? I think I learned this from a professional speaker named Craig Valentine. He says there's a tendency for speakers to go in and put themselves on a pedestal because they want to have credibility and to say, I'm the expert. I'm the expert. So listen to me. And obviously we don't want to do that because that puts a barrier between you and the audience.
Yeah.
Craig suggests that you focus on the 4 F's. And the 4 F's are your firsts, fears, failures, and frustrations.
Oh.
And what that does for an audience is to say to them, I'm like a Sherpa. I've been where you're trying to go. And that's why it's worthwhile listening to me, but I'm not above you, And so that makes you worthwhile to the audience. It gives you credibility without putting you up on a pedestal or putting a barrier between it. And sounds like to me that's what you did, was to give these folks hope.
Well, I think my biggest thing that I like to hear from an audience member, and I believe this happened on one of those England trips. That's in a different language. The elected members. Oh, okay. It's describing what the TD is. That's describing elected directly. The general, I think it's like state rep, the upper house. Yeah. So, okay, I think that's like state rep though.
It's in Gaelic. That's why we're looking at it and going, that looks,
okay.
It's Latin or something. Is what it looks like. But I'll bet it's based in Gaelic. Janet, correct me if I'm wrong there. I'll show my American ignorance here.
So I think this happened that second trip over there, by the way, this particular thing. But this is what I love when someone comes up to me after I speak. This is the thing that I love for them to say, is this one lady said to me, she actually needed an interpreter to tell me this. She came over and she was so happy, waited in line. And the other lady came with her and said, told me her name, and she said she really, really wanted you to know something. And I said, "Oh, awesome! What, you know?" And she said she wanted me to tell you how much alike you are to her.
Ah.
Me and her were like, and she was actually dark skinned.
Mhm.
So she didn't speak my language. We didn't look alike, and yet she stood in line to tell me how much alike we were. And I think that's the best compliment I can get, because I'm presenting my material in a way that it feels like it's you.
Yeah.
You know,
Excellent.
that's what I want, because you're not going to go out and do the stuff if it doesn't feel like you. If it's
Yeah.
so outrageous out farther your comfort zone, you're not going to do it. So
Exactly. Exactly. And that's a real value to the audience there. Janet says it's Irish. And so
oh,
I
and what were the 4 F's again? And we'll have to.
four F.
We can't type in, but you put it. Maybe Peg will type it in if she's still on. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. She can type it in and I'll say them again. You can always replay the video here, But
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
that's a good point. Go ahead.
okay, I'll say them slowly so people can take notes here. So it's firsts, fears, failures, and frustrations. Okay,
First,
first, fears,
fears.
failures, and frustrations.
Peg
And
said,
thank
"Thanks
you for
for
not
not
dying.
dying." Nice.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that went quick. There we go. First, fears, failures, frustrations, right in the
Yeah.
con. Thank
So when you tell
you.
stories about that, then you're saying to them like when I coach people on effective speaking, there's a tendency for people to think, well, you were just born like this, right? And I always tell people I won the very first speech contest I ever entered. Of course, there wasn't anybody else entered in that category, you know. So when you're talking about the first time that I got up in front of an audience and maybe how I blew it or whatever. Uh, and it's also unique to you. You tell your story. It's not something people can just go and look up on the internet. So that brings value to the
I don't know about
audience.
that.
Well, some of your stories are all over the internet, Lisa. I
Right,
mean,
right. And now evidently the Mad Buffet is going to be on the internet. Evidently. Well,
yeah.
believe it or not, we're already done.
Wow.
But now, before we end, we got to wrap this up with a book promotion for your new book.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Please, please. Donn's got an awesome, awesome, awesome new book.
And I appreciate that. I can actually put it up on the screen here, although I don't think you can see it over there in the corner. It's over here.
Oh, no. Wait, maybe I can put you full screen. I can put you full. No, that's you.
Yeah, you gotta swap positions.
Okay.
Pull me over to the left here. And in
Can
fact,
I don't know how to do that.
okay, just put it back like that. And I think I can pull.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
no, that didn't do it. Or how
Hold
about
on. Hold
no?
on. I can move the book over here, I think, in front of my. No, that's moving me. Ooh. Oh well, never mind.
Pego put the URL for the book though, if you
Yes.
want.
The book is called The Way of the 3-Year-Old Why. Okay. The Way of the 3-Year-Old Why. And let's see here. If I do this and move it down, nope, got to move it up ahead
No,
of my
Maureen said
camera.
she saw the book. Maureen said she saw the book. We just didn't see it somehow.
Oh, okay. So very good.
Well,
Well,
it's the way.
I'll quit picking at the technology here, but like
It's the
the
way
book,
of the 3-year-old why, and
The Way of the
tell us a
3-Year-Old
little
Why.
bit what it's about.
So, said the lady with the blue hair, it is a business fable. Okay. So, business fable, business parable, like the Go Giver, it uses fiction in order to teach nonfiction principles. And so, the idea behind the title is that if you're trying to figure out what matters to you, well, let me back up just real quick. It sort of came out of the pandemic. We kept hearing about the great resignation. I don't think that's what it was. It's the great realignment as people realize life is short and you don't want to spend it doing stuff that doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
Then they reassessed, what is important to you. And so in trying to figure that out, ask the why the way a 3-year-old would, which means, you don't just settle for that surface level. You drill down until you find the real meaning. So these are things like look for the so that. We've all heard the thing about why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side. Nobody ever thinks to ask, well, why do you want to get to the other side? Was Colonel Sanders chasing him? Were there hungry chicks over there? Okay. So that's a deeper level of meaning. Look for the emotion. There is no motion without emotion. And so these are ways of figuring out what matters most to you. And then it's in the story of Dan Roberts, a struggling speaker who's trying to figure out his next steps. He has a severely disabled daughter. And people who know me will recognize some stuff here. It's not autobiographical, but I did use a lot of things from our actual life as inspiration for the story and how he figures out what he really should be doing with his life, what he's here on earth for.
It's awesome. And you have a podcast too.
Yes. It's called The Alignment Show. I got a background on that too. And you've seen this one because you have been a guest on The Alignment Show.
Yeah, so, and I'll have to post our show again because I've got that up. I'll have to post our show again in the group. I think you're in there too, so feel free to put in your link to the book and stuff in the group. That would be awesome.
I will be glad to do that. Peg's another one who's a frequent guest. She's going to be my guest tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But we had a last minute shuffling of the schedule, and Peg was kind enough to step in at the last minute. We're going to learn from her about dealing with when life throws you a curveball. And she's had a major curveball recently.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're going to learn from
and
Peg.
She is the major connector. I haven't met anybody that's as connected as Peg.
Absolutely.
Go Peg. We're going to be, and this is one last thing, we're going to be, Peg and I are going to Denver with Scott Easterday and attending that conference. If anybody also wants to go, I'm flying in from New Hampshire. Peg's flying in from Maryland, and Easterday's flying in from Ohio. So we all aren't from Denver. We are going there, and it's a hub for Southwest. So if you live in an also hub, it won't be very much money, and I can win free. I got free tickets. So, So hit me up for a ticket and let's all do it together. But I was so impressed with that event last year. That's why I got to go back. So anyway, thank you so much, Donn. I really,
this has been great. I appreciate the opportunity to fill in. I could not fill the shoes, but I've got some different shoes here, I guess. So yeah, no squirrels involved.
No squirrels. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. We will be back again next week, hopefully, with Mr. Squirrel Man. Good night.
Take care.